But receivers are superheroes. And we think we can fix all the problems if we just make enough plays.
Cut to it, cut to it, let's get down to it. Cut to it, cut to it, cut to it, let's get down to it.
All right, look, it only takes you about 20 seconds to hit that subscribe button, so please hit that subscribe button. Welcome to a look ahead into the top 32 wide receivers heading into the 2023 NFL season. Listen, all you fantasy novice, all you brilliant fantasy people, this guy, I'm an idiot. I don't understand fantasy football. And the head nod, I did not appreciate. But I love it, though. I love it. Coley Mick is in the building. We usually do this Zoom, but he has blessed us to be in Charlotte. Has Charlotte been as nice to you as nice to me?
It has. I'm still very confused. And I was just talking about it with Brian. Like, I grew up, East Coast guy, and every other major East Coast city is on the water. So I still don't really know where Charlotte is in relation to the rest of the state of North Carolina. Like, it not being on the water still doesn't make sense to me.
Okay. Now, places that are, not on the water, like East Coast, West Coast, in the middle, there's other, like, states.
They don't count.
Oh.
They for sure don't count. They count every 4 years, so those are the only times you hear about them.
There's a few Power Rangers that are from those states, though.
Are there?
Yes, there are.
I don't know if that's true. They all went to the same high school. How could that be true?
No, one. Okay, we're moving on. He's coffeeed up today. I was not prepared for that one. All right, so we're going to look ahead, and we're going to go through the top 32 teams, the top 32 wide receivers. However, we're also going to discuss and talk about the why, the how. They could be moving up. It could be moving down as well. And it's not because of the players aren't as good, but it's the overall success or the lack of success or the transition of in and out of quarterbacks, a lot of different things, offense coordinators, defense coordinators, head coaches, all of those factors factor in. Is your guy going to be at the same position or better or worse heading into this season? And we're going to find out. So obviously, we already know, I believe the top 5 guys, right? Top 3 guys, it doesn't really matter who it really is. Until a couple of days ago, we received this information on Jimmy Garoppolo. So number one, according to all the people, Pro Football Focus, Underdog, you name where you get your fantasy information, and it is a constantly moving diagram. But the top 3 guys that we know, DAVANTE Adams. I mean, that's lazy easy, right?
Yeah, it is.
Justin Jefferson. Arguably, you can interchange those 2 guys. But I always love to go with the history first, which is DAVANTE Adams. But the Young Bucks are always knocking on the door. Talking about this bookcase right here, it's real wood. Shout out to Brian Baltashevis. He hand built this.
It's very nice.
Right? Did it himself. And then number 3, Cheetah.
Over Cooper Kupp.
Over Cooper Kupp.
Okay.
Number 4, you have Jamar Chase. Number 5, Stefon Diggs. And coming in number 6, Cooper Kupp. But let's talk about this number 1 and number 1, 2, and 3. I can see DAVANTE Adams slipping. Not because DAVANTE Adams is getting old. Not because DAVANTE Adams has lost a step. DAVANTE Adams has never been known to run a 4-2.
Right.
However, he is savvy. He knows exactly how to play football. He's shown you that Aaron Rodgers is no longer his quarterback. That doesn't stop.
No.
How he does business.
No, wasn't too concerned about that.
Some people were.
No, for sure. I'm saying he specifically was not. Where, stepping out of fantasy for a second, where would you put him all time, just as a route runner?
All time?
Yeah, all time. Because he's not a young man. You know what I mean?
not.
He's got a lot of film.
He's
got a lot of tape.
He's a hell of a route runner.
Mm-hmm.
I had the opportunity to just talk to him this year, and I remember seeing Davante Adams, Fresno State. I was in Baltimore. I'm slugging through the stair climber, because when you tear your Achilles, you have to get that activation from your calf. And I remember seeing him. I was like, "Oh, that's a young boy from Fresno State." Did not know
what was
I
coming.
was looking at greatness as I was trying to get back on the field.
Right.
And so I had the opportunity to speak to him. And I just told him, "Bro, I love what you're doing." One of the things he said was, "I want to be known for something. And I'm known for having excellent routes." And I said, "Bro, yes, you are." And it was really cool to have that moment, man. One, just giving him his flowers and telling him just how great of a route runner he was. When I saw him, he saw me, I saw him, and he was on his trip, and just seeing him and then seeing him today, I was just like, wow. I was looking at a young Davante Adams. I said, man, he could play. That boy can ball.
Yeah, a little more than that. Yeah.
Oh, it was good. But I think he's gonna move down with Jimmy G and his foot issue, right? You're not sure how and what it's gonna look like. The Los Angeles Raiders struggled on defense. They just they traded away Darren Waller. They lost Bug Collins or Matt Collins. They called him Bug at UNC Chapel Hill. So you have Bug Collins. He's in Atlanta now. He was a big play guy.
He was. He had massive games last year.
Massive. It's going to be tough to be able to carry that burden and not replace it with the same productivity. On paper, we don't know. But on paper, you also have to be worried and concerned. Jimmy G not being there, having a guy now that is unproven, you're not sure what he is going to do. Stidham is gone. He's moved on. So now you're just rolling the dice and trying to see, will it work?
Now, we're talking about him sliding down. Is there a chance he could maybe end up playing with the best quarterback he's ever played with?
With terrific Tom?
The very same.
I can see that as a huge possibility.
That would be
bananas.
That'd be interesting. It would be bananas. It would be, because you got to think of it too mentally. He was okay with going to Vegas because Derek Carr was his college quarterback. They had that chemistry already, and now it's Jimmy G, maybe. So where do you think he's at mentally? Obviously, he knew even at the end of last season that Carr was gone. He didn't request a trade, none of that, so he was okay staying there. But now with this uncertainty, what do you think is going through?
I think he's uncertain.
Yeah.
I believe that he's thinking. I haven't spoken to him. I have not asked him about that at all.
Right.
Because I don't want to be that guy that's talking about things that, off the cuff, that it just makes those guys feel like I'm just trying to get information.
Sure, yeah.
If I put myself in his shoes, you are at the house going, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
Because there is uncertainty. Time no longer is an ally for him.
Right.
Time is no longer on his hands.
He's trying, from where I'm sitting, he's trying to put a bow on a Hall of Fame career.
Yes.
And he seems like the type of receiver who could go out there with anyone and put up 1,010.
Yeah.
But you don't really want to push it. You don't want to find out what that floor is.
No, exactly. You don't want to test it out if you don't have to.
Right. Yeah.
So yes. Justin Jefferson, with Jordan Addison being involved, Kirk Cousins. Look, a lot of people have a lot of bad. I got a lot of good things to say about Kirk Cousins. What I love about Kirk Cousins, you know what you're gonna get. Now I put the onus on the offense and offensive coordinator, the offensive staff, and the head coach of why do you constantly keep putting so much pressure on Kirk Cousins the same way Dallas has done last year's with Dak. Is everything flows through the quarterback to distribute and be accurate every single day. He can't have an off day. I don't believe that's a healthy way to allow your offense to live.
Right.
That's not sustainable.
No, it doesn't bode well to go into the playoffs with a negative point differential. That will eventually, those chickens will come home to roost every time. Because I remember last year, one of our first episodes, we were talking about Justin Jefferson. You stressed how important it was, even though he was in the later stage of his career, having Adam Thielen on the field was for him. Now it's rookie Addison plus TJ Hawkinson trying to take some of that pressure off.
And he is.
Yeah, they don't know. I mean, Dalvin Cook's been threatened to be cut all off season, so obviously they're looking for something different there. So right now, I mean, Justin Jefferson's going. He's the first receiver being taken.
Should be.
Do you think that's the right move?
I believe that's the right move if he's available because of the Jimmy G,
DAVANTE
uncertainty. I think you have to factor that in because you can get caught having a workhorse, but his trainer isn't there. The guy who feeds him
there's no jockey on him.
There's no jockey. I mean, he just running a race, right? He's looking up like, hey, I need some spark. Hey man, we got supply chain issues, right? Number 3.
Well, real quick,
there's
1, 2, 3, 4. There's 5 receivers going ahead of Davante Adams right now.
Where?
5 in drafts.
Okay.
And on underdog, average, your favorite term, ADP, average draft position.
I had no idea what ADP was, so I'm glad we were on.
You said the home security.
We were on a text message. I was like, bro, I don't know what this is. What?
I responded what it was, and then Steve goes, Coley, did you know this? And I was like, I just said it. So Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, Cooper Kupp, Stephon Diggs, AJ Brown, and right now Davante Adams and CeeDee Lamb are pretty much being taken the exact same spot. Davante is 11.7, so most people are taking him 11th or 12th overall. CeeDee Lamb's 11.8, so they're pretty interchangeable in the eyes of fantasy community. Do you think that's fair? Do you think there's a couple of guys you would still take him over, or do you think those sound about the right 5 or 6 guys?
I find it. I want to say, well, first of all, if they're the 11th pick, that means right, and I'm still learning this fantasy deal. That means you've already taken your quarterback.
Well, so you get 1 pick per round.
Yeah.
So let's say it's a 12-team league. So I've got a team, you've got a team, Brian's got a team, Dean's got a team. So you don't have to just take a wide receiver. You need your quarterback, you need your running backs, you need tight end. So I assume most people are taking Justin Jefferson first overall, or they're taking CMC first overall.
Yes.
So what it means is 11th overall. So
you're taking these in the first round.
Yeah, these are all first round picks.
I'm still learning.
Yeah.
I will go quarterback first.
Interesting.
Because both of these guys at 11-7, 11-8, I can see them dropping. Here's why. CeeDee Lamb and Davante Adams both are on teams with some identity crisis. The Dallas Cowboys with CeeDee Lamb, I believe CeeDee Lamb will have more bigger plays. I do not believe that CeeDee Lamb will have the same amount of targets.
Interesting, because they're going to try and run the ball more.
Because they have to run the ball more. They have to not take the ball out of Dak Prescott's hands because he's not very good. Dak Prescott is a hell of a quarterback.
Definitely.
However, Dak Prescott also was put in bad positions at times by the offense because there was some imaginary thought that I know the answer to is these coordinators are trying to show that their head coach / offensive coordinator material, and they're doing a job interview at other people's expense.
Right.
That's the problem that's going on. With Davante Adams, you have a quarterback issue.
Mm-hmm.
You lost some of your weapons.
And he's got his coach is that same person you're talking about.
Correct. That offense has been up and down.
Mm-hmm.
You have players who are injured. It's a lot of uncertainty. And with that uncertainty, by the time you're picking in August, you kind of will know. But so I would pick them as my first. I would pick, if everything works out, I'm picking Davante Adams, not CeeDee Lamb.
Okay.
Because CeeDee Lamb and that offense, you still need to know they're going to run the football.
Mm-hmm.
They have to run the football. If Mike McCarthy wants to keep his job, he has to run the football, take less pressure off Dak Prescott. Apply some, you got Brandon Cooks.
Yep.
Where he is, he's ranked on here. I believe that he's probably not going to have 1,000 yards this year. You got Michael Gallup, who was getting back with his knee. He wasn't 100%.
No.
You can tell. Well, if he's 100%, which I believe he will be this year, he's going to take some receptions from CeeDee Lamb.
Right.
He's going to take some receptions from Brandon Cook.
Yeah.
And they're going to run the football. There's not enough plays in a football game.
So you think CD will have a better football year,
Yes.
but not a better fantasy year?
Not a better fantasy year. Now, he may have a better fantasy year with less catches,
Right.
but bigger explosive plays.
Yeah.
This is, I don't know
Yeah,
what
yeah,
fantasy is that.
So, an ideal world, you want someone who's getting both. You know what I mean? That's idea. That's why when Cooper Kupp wins the Triple Crown, it's like, oh man. Now, something else that's also happened, I saw, shout out Josh Norris, our coworker.
Okay.
He said wide receivers, whatever the top 10 wide receivers are, it changes pretty much every year.
It does.
In the real world, we're like, oh no, of course Cooper Kupp's still top 5. Last year he misses half the season. Of course he's not going to be top 5 because he's not getting any points. But in the real world, we're like, yeah, he just got hurt. We know he's still top 5 talent. Davante, like you're saying, you still show him deference as wide receiver 1 overall.
Yes.
Because of everything he's done.
He's a tier 1 wide receiver.
Oh, absolutely.
A tier 1 wide receiver for me is a guy that you could count on. Whatever team he goes to, he's the top dog.
Correct. Yeah.
He's tier 1.
But
right.
The fantasy world saying we think he's going to be at best the 6th in terms of just getting points for me this year.
If that quarterback situation is,
it might be worse.
if it's resolved, meaning Jimmy G is not on the team or he can't play, he's not top.
Right.
Right? Unless he's replaced with terrific Tom.
Right.
If not, he's replaced with a middle of the road or average quarterback. Man, that can get interesting.
Right.
And it's going to be at the expense of your fantasy football team.
Without question. Yeah, that's why, I mean, drafts open up the day after the draft, the NFL draft, because now we know all the rookies
That's
on what teams. Oh, yeah. People are drafting all offseason.
Oh.
People are drafting the day after the Super Bowl.
Well, that's bad. That is bad. That is bad.
Well, you get such
I'm
wild
scared.
swings.
I'm scared of those people.
You just don't for
see,
sure.
Now I see why they're pissed. I see why they're so mad all the time. Oh, you screwed my fantasy team. No, idiot. You picked too soon. That's why you got to let the offseason transpire.
Well, it goes both ways because
I don't want to hear it.
Well, there are some rookies that you're like, all right, we don't know where he's going to be on the depth chart.
Yep.
And so I can get him with my last pick overall. And then by week 8, he's the team's wide receiver 1.
Yeah.
So that's where, but yeah, most people, like people who don't do underdog, who do their other fantasy leagues.
Foolish on you.
We love you. We love you all. Thank you.
I said foolish on you. There's nothing wrong with it. You're just, hey, listen. You know, it's like, hey.
People got nips to
Pepsi,
scratch.
Coke. Pepsi, Coke. I'm not doubting you. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
your taste, but your palate is just a little bit different.
People who don't do best ball and underdog that have their own home leagues and stuff, they typically wait until Labor Day weekend.
That's smart.
Because all the people have been cut.
Yes.
People get hurt in the preseason.
Yes.
All that happens.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I've worked in a couple of drafts the year Andrew Luck retired, and people had already used high draft capital on him.
Anyway, let's move on. Oh goodness, all right. So Tyreek Hill, I believe he stays there. Jamar Chase, I believe he stays there. Stephon Diggs with Dalton Kincaid, I believe he stays there in the 5. I'm not sure if he moves up dramatically because Dalton Kincaid is a tight end that is going to replace the lack of slot receiver play that the Buffalo Bills have had.
Mm-hmm.
They got some young guys that are going to come in. I'm not going to go on record and say that I would add those guys. I would put any young players who are in their second or third year that have been on the fringe.
Mm-hmm.
I would use them as flex.
Definitely.
I would flex them in there and saying, hey, if he has a good game, great. But you cannot depend on him right now. And a few of those guys that I would use as flex, like with rookies right now, Jalen Hyatt.
Yep.
I put him as these are all my flex players, right? For the 2023 season. Jalen Hyatt with the Giants. He may start, but he's really, I call him a skateboard, right? If you ever rode a skateboard is fantastic. Until you hit that rock. You hit that rock and all of a sudden you question everything about your athleticism. Do you fight the fall? Do you take the fall?
Mm.
Do you go in the bushes or do you just hit the pavement? There's a lot of different decisions you have to make at the snap of the finger, decide shoulder or face.
Right.
That's really it. Jalen Hyatt, JSN with the Seattle Seahawks. Demario Davis. Demario Douglas.
Yeah, I was
for
calling
New
Demario
England.
Davis too.
Right. Demario
Douglas. Yeah.
Douglas
Yeah.
for New England. I can see he being a flex guy because he's young. They're going to utilize him, put him in motion a little bit. He's a guy, he's more dangerous with the ball in his hand.
Mm.
But you gotta give him on movement to get him open.
Right.
He was a guy at Liberty. I didn't do a breakdown on him because it was so hard to watch and judge him and give a breakdown because he's explosive with the ball in his hands. But understanding you can't get the ball in a young guy like that in his hands as much as they did in college and expect to have the same success in the NFL.
Right.
Tank Dell is another guy I put in that flex with the Houston Texans. Lateral guy. Yes, he can go. But he's still young and still has to learn. He hasn't shown on film. I saw some tape on him going against Sauce Gardner.
Mm.
And they said, oh, he did a great job. He never really went against Sauce Gardner where he was on the line of scrimmage, no motion. Sauce was right there like what's going on in the NFL.
Right.
If you're not the Z, which is off the ball with motion, you're either the X or the Y. And not all of these people can move all at once. It's not the CFL. You have to, it's not the Arena League.
Right.
You have to, there's one designated movement guy, and then the rest of us have to be stationary stand. You have to win your battle at the line of scrimmage. And I'm not saying that they can't, but I haven't seen enough of them to show it.
So one other thing Josh said was the biggest jumps in production, especially to get in that top 10, are typically year 2 guys. Guys who, like you're saying, they've adjusted to the NFL. They've got their 1 year under them, and they either climb the depth chart, guys leaving free agency, guys retire, all sorts of stuff happens. So when you say DeMario, I don't hate that. Guy like Tyquan Thornton for the Patriots even, or I don't even know how it would apply necessarily to Mechie because he is a second-year guy, but also didn't play at all last year because he had cancer. And that whole Houston offense, I think, is super interesting because it's all brand new. Outside of Tunsil at left tackle, it's all brand new. They're all young guys. It's a rookie quarterback. It's a new head coach. It's all brand new. So does that worry you at all?
Well, it doesn't worry me. You got Nico Collins.
Yep.
Robert Woods doesn't really scare me like he used to.
Right.
Michi, we don't know
We just don't
how
know.
his football cardiovascular system is. I
Right.
mean, God bless him. He's coming back and overcoming some challenges. For him to just line up,
Yeah.
that's a win. Tank Dell, Noah Brown. It's a lot of ifs in there.
Hmm.
And then you're playing with a new coordinator,
Right.
new head coach, new offense, new quarterback. There's a lot of things. I don't believe they're going to finish as the 30th wide receiver group. I believe they will move up. These young guys, talking to Andre Johnson. Andre's been working with Nico, so Nico's getting it. He's just a little bit slow in getting it.
Right.
As far as the way slow in getting the knowledge and how much information he's getting from Dre. Dre is dumping him with so much information. It's like, oh my God, it's so much. So he's learning and progressing.
So there could be, you see, weeks where the offense looks good or certain guys look good, but consistently throughout the season it will be.
I think
up and down.
I believe by the middle of the season you will kind of get an understanding of where these guys are.
Mhm.
And I do not believe that the Houston Texans, some of these young teams, will be at the bottom half like they were last year. I can see them moving up in the 20s and probably being in the middle of the pack
Mhm.
and still going into their third year to where they can probably hit that 15 or top 10 as a collective group,
Mhm.
that they could be a young team full of troublemakers for defenses.
Okay. Okay.
Some of the other flex guys, Sky Moore, him becoming a full-time contributor. Rashee Rice, he's with Kansas City.
Yep.
Got some speed. He has a reliable quarterback compared to what he did not have
Right.
in college. Josh Downs, I put him at flex. Quentin Johnson, I put him at flex. He is really interesting at flex because you got Mike Williams, who will get something going on, some kind of soft tissue issue. You have Keenan Allen,
Mhm.
hadn't played a full season in a long time.
Mhm.
He's getting older. He has some soft tissue issues as well. I can see Quentin Johnson being a starter by process of elimination because somebody's not active.
Mhm.
And then Jordan Addison. He's a flex guy to me as well because of he's not Justin Jefferson.
Right.
KJ Osborne is on that team. He's shown that he could play.
Mhm.
They also have Blake Pro. I heard he can play. And then everything goes through Justin
Right.
Justin Jefferson. Jordan Addison does a great job contested catches, where he's going to have to live right now. He has if he ends up lining up against Jair Alexander and can have the opportunity that someone that can run with him. You got to win on the contested catches. What do you bring to the table other than speed? Or if you don't have the same 4.3 speed, 4.2 speed, what are you bringing? Justin Addison brings that high percentage contested catches throughout his whole career. And I believe he was underutilized at USC. You go back and look at his film at Pitt with Kenny Pickett, wowzers.
Yeah.
He was blowing by people. It was amazing.
So right now, Tyler Lockett's going 66, Jordan Addison's going 67. Do you I'm always interested because there are a couple rookie versus rookie comparisons in here in terms of where they're getting taken, but Addison and Lockett being that close, obviously I think Lockett gets undervalued every year just because he's not the flashy type. Like he just gets his yards, he gets his touchdowns, he will never get tackled. He refuses. It's not in his DNA to get tackled. I respect it. And they went out and added JSN. So people assume, oh, we're going to get less here. I almost view that as I think DK is going to get less and JSN is going to eat some of his target share.
both of them are going to get less targets because they're going to still run the football.
Correct.
Here's my question mark with why I would go with Jordan Addison, but I give the edge for more big plays by Tyler Lockett is because JSN is going to be playing he's going to be working the middle of the field.
Mm-hmm.
That allows Tyler Lockett to sneak down the field even more.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna have the vertical threat, the speed guy, Swole Bones, DK Metcalf. He's gonna run his designated routes. And I believe that DK is consistently working on his intermediate, shorter routes, dropping his weight, getting a little bit more flexible. So you have DK that's gonna do his thing. I believe that allows almost a true 3-layer concept with the benefit of Tyler Lockett being a little bit above intermediate. So that intermediate 10 to 12, I can see Tyler Lockett having that 15 to 20 range where he can, I believe he can mess around and average 22 yards a catch because of he's sneaky,
Mm-hmm.
crafty, has some speed and understanding, and his body control is excellent. And then JSN working the intermediate routes. I see Tyler Lockett just like CeeDee Lamb, where his plays on the field are a little bit more explosive.
And is it something as simple as like now the safeties have to keep their eyes on the middle of the field?
Yes, but I also am concerned about, does Geno Smith, who surprised everybody, does he try to do a little bit too much?
Yeah, it's interesting because it's not as if he didn't struggle also last year. You know what I mean?
I mean, every quarterback struggles because those defenses are out there. What I believe helps Geno is he's playing one of the best secondaries out there with Seattle. Seattle got better in the draft.
Yeah.
They got a pass rush now, so they can speed up everything. So with speeding up everything, that also gives Geno real reps, game time reps. How will it be when the real bullets are flying instead of they're playing 7-on-7, playing touch football? They're not playing touch football. He has to be able to move up in the pocket, keep his eyes down the field, and also know where to deliver the ball in a timely fashion.
I wasn't even saying struggle as like a negative. I think it's like a positive for people who fear some like huge step back.
Mm-hmm.
It's not as if he played 17 perfect weeks and it was just like, well, where did that come from? Are we going to see a huge regression? No, you saw the regression in the middle of the season and he fought through that.
Yeah.
Still got them to the playoffs when it looked shaky towards the end of the season. So that almost, to me, is like, oh yeah, I think this is just normal Geno now.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like he had these crazy highs and no lows. It's like, no, he had pretty much a normal quarterback season. If you didn't know his history, if you didn't know he'd been sitting on the bench for a decade, you wouldn't think too much of it. And I'm not even trying to take a shot. Like, but because he has such like a strange path to where he is right now, people will expect a steeper drop off than what probably was
we were all surprised.
For sure.
We were all surprised.
I mean, Drew Lock was surprised. He was like, I was traded here to start, and the Seahawks love me. They still speak very highly of Drew Lock for, I don't know if that's just good business or if they actually think that.
I believe Drew Lock, he'll be sitting again this year, and I believe he'll go to another team. He got out of that situation in Denver. It wasn't great.
No.
Wasn't great coaching staff. He was a little bit frazzled. I believe they've calmed the waters. Continues to learn, eager to learn. Outstanding teammate. Believe that you can see he'll be one of those guys that gets opportunity to show. And I believe with his strong arm and his improvement in the knowledge of what he's seeing and believing what he's seeing, he will have the ability to show that he could be a starting quarterback in this league.
Yeah, and I don't think there's anyone better to back up right now if you want to have a positive mindset than Geno.
And
He's
he has
living proof.
And he has a great coaching staff that is
Right.
really allowing him to grow and feel and be himself and not walk on eggshells.
Right, right, right. Which is all tremendously positive. JSN, as we were just talking about him and Brandon Ayuk are going in the same range, about 61st overall.
I'm taking JSN.
Okay.
Brandon Ayuk, I read he's ready to fly. He's ready to roll. That's cool. You got a quarterback situation going on.
Sure do.
You have Trey Lance, who I believe...
Which, to be fair, has been his whole career. Because it was Jimmy G before, and that was a question mark.
Yeah,
so that's kind of been his whole career.
I believe this is a much different situation.
For sure.
We don't know what kind of quarterback Trey Lance is.
No.
And neither do the 49ers.
No, they sure don't.
They used a 3rd overall pick to get him. That was a mistake.
And multiple other picks to get that 3rd overall
The equity they used to get Trey Lance for a young kid who does not have a file cabinet that actually has any files that are thick.
Right.
One, goes to college, not his fault, COVID.
Right.
That is not his fault.
We don't think.
That was very cool.
We don't know. We don't know.
Yep. Allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly not his fault.
Not his fault, okay? But they have Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold is a quarterback that you can rely on in practice. When the bullets are flying, he is slow on the trigger. His processing is not the best. He does not play football during the game the way he plays football in practice. And because of that, I'm going with JSN.
Okay.
If Brock Purdy is 100% ready to go, I don't think you can go wrong with either one of these guys. I give it to Brandon Ayuk. But if Brock Purdy is not ready to go and Sam Darnold is your quarterback and Trey Lance, nope.
Could one of those two quarterbacks we're just talking about, because we're still unsure of Purdy's supposed to be throwing relatively soon.
In a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Sometime in June.
Could one of them be Davante Adams' quarterback in a couple
I don't know
weeks?
if I know. I don't know. I'm not sure. I haven't got that far. I haven't started calling people enough to know that. I do know that it's a concern.
Yeah.
And it should be a concern. You know. We need to go back. I want to go back. I think Cooper Kupp slides.
Really?
Yes.
Just because of
The team.
Yeah.
Overall team. This is a team that didn't even have a kicker on there. They didn't even have a kicker on their roster prior to the draft. This is a rebuild. It is nothing on Cooper. It is more about what's around Cooper. Van Jefferson is coming back after, having some knee stuff. I expect him to play well, but I just don't believe that the Los Angeles Rams keep people awake at night the way they did 2.5 years ago.
Right. It's fallen apart pretty quickly.
Yes.
Does it mean anything to you that there have been, and all of these could just be rumors, but for 2 years now, it sounded like McVay's considered retiring.
Absolutely.
But does it mean anything that he has chosen to actually stay? Stafford's already throwing during the offseason, which was something he didn't do at all last year.
Well, he couldn't do it last year because of, I think, tendonitis and
the surgery,
the elbow. But here's the other thing that he's lost a lot of staff, a lot of people that have contributed to the great mind that Sean McVay is.
Definitely.
Now he has to figure out, right? My old quarterback coach is no longer there, but my new offense coordinator, or this guy, my new running backs coach, all these people who knew their roles, who would on Monday, hey, he has the run game, he has this, he has that. Now all of a sudden, even though you believe in those people, they do it differently. And so they have to get used to you, and you have to get used to them. And they have to get used to the players that they never coached before. And the players have to get used to the coaches that they never heard run routes before. So you have all of those things in there. And a great example of that Chicago Bears. Look how the Chicago Bears started off last year. And look how the Chicago Bears finished. Lou Getsy was learning his players were learning him, and it all took time. Yeah, you're practicing against NFL football players, but you're also practicing against NFL football players with the Chicago Bears at the beginning of the season. Their defense wasn't knocking down the door.
Right.
They weren't great. They were okay. So as everybody is growing and learning their identity, learning what they're capable, learning what they're incapable of, then all of a sudden you start to figure out what's going on.
Yeah, and you also may not.
No,
Plenty of guys just don't figure it out.
And then you have to figure out this guy isn't getting it.
Right.
Jeff Okudah. Is it Okudah?
Yeah,
Jeff Okudah, who's now with the Atlanta Falcons. He's trying to figure it out. Right?
Oh, yeah.
It's an adjustment.
Players and coaches don't always figure it out.
Just because a guy is 6'4", such and such runs this on paper, that's great. That gets you in the door. Now you have to figure out, what does he do well and what do we not want him to do at all?
Right.
Which left tackle do we not want to put isolated, no help on against Myles Garrett?
Right.
See what I'm saying? So that's one. So I have Cooper Kupp. He's right now 6. I got him dropping a few spots because of the team. I'm not sure I believe that the team, the Los Angeles Rams, will be a team that you could just say, they'll just bounce back.
So right now he's going 5th, right behind Tyreek.
I wouldn't do it.
And I think where the fantasy community's thinking is they think the Rams will be bad and they'll be throwing a lot trying to win games. That's at least the thought process. Is there any validity to that thought process?
I think that may be correct. However, I don't believe that will result to more receptions and a better presence on fantasy.
Okay.
I don't think that is a great formula to bank the success of your team on. Is I'm going to get a good player on a bad team who's just going to catch a lot of passes.
So Diggs and A.J. Brown are going right behind him. You would be more comfortable with that?
First of all, I'll put A.J. Brown ahead of them because you know what that team got better on defense. So that means there's going to be more opportunities for A.J. Brown, who A.J. Brown is still a deep threat. He's still going to apply a lot of pressure. I believe DeVonta Smith is the intermediate route runner, the Slim Reaper. That's where I think he lives. That's where he makes his hay. A.J. Brown is a big boss hog. He's going to muscle you. He's the fist fight in the phone booth. He loves that. He loves to be physical. That's part of his game. So I believe that he will have more explosive plays. But I also believe that, and it's funny, there were times where AJ probably should got the ball more.
Definitely.
But he didn't. So I think he moves up. Cooper Kupp moves down.
Okay.
Another guy I think moves at number 8, Scary Terry. Scary Terry, he's moving down.
Because of the uncertainty.
He is not in the top 10. Not because he's not in the top 10 because he's not a good football player. He doesn't run routes. Because of his quarterback play. I look at it. You read the headlines, and Emmanuel Forbes, PBU, pass breakup. You know why? I don't even have to see the film, but I can tell you why. A rookie is pass breaking up Terry McLaurin and Josh Dobbs, who are guys who are explosive, who run pretty darn good football routes. Why? Because the quarterback's late. That's why. That quarterback is late. Sam Howell is late. And how do I know he's late? He has a new offensive coordinator. This offensive coordinator, Eric Bieniemy, comes from Kansas City, where old West Coast Andy Reid. Those routes are predicated on one thing only first: timing. If the timing is off, that means ball placement is off. That means that ball is being placed in a position where the corner's draped over the receiver. And if you go back and look at Emmanuel Forbes, his film, he's always on a receiver. He is white on rice. That's how close he is to the receiver. He's there. He's right there. I believe he's right there. I didn't evaluate him on the pod, but I would put him at number 2. And then there's Christian Gonzalez.
Yeah, I mean, that's where he got drafted.
I can see, that's how I know Scary Terry's going to drop, because of the timing of the quarterback and development of that offense.
And it's Howell played, what, 1 game last year, if that.
Looked fantastic.
Yeah, sure, but
right, for a rookie, he looked fantastic. For a team, he was playing with one hand behind his back.
And even if he becomes a solid NFL starter, it probably isn't going to be week 1. It might not be this year.
Correct.
So that's where it's the uncertainty.
Yes.
I agree. He obviously has the talent, very good wide receiver. You're not saying it's his fault.
It's not his fault.
Right.
But it's not Sam Howell's fault either.
Correct. Oh, yeah,
They're
absolutely.
all learning.
Yeah.
And they're learning at the expense of how clean the offense will look, and it will not look clean off the bat. I think it won't look clean for probably the first 10 weeks. Now, that's not to say that they're not going to win football games, but he's not going to be in the top 8.
I was going to say, yeah, they could win games because of their defense,
Yes.
and that doesn't help
And
at
that's
all
what they're
here.
going to do. They're going to try to keep the game close, not screw it up on offense, and allow the defense to get a turnover and run the clock out. 4 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's just how they're going to do it. CeeDee Lamb, he's right there. Debo, you keep him right there. Number 11, Mike Evans. Dropping. Mike Evans and Chris Godwin dropping because of the team. Kyle Trask, he's pushing it. They have their quarterback out there in Tampa. Not really drinking the Kool-Aid on that. I'll have the Kool-Aid gum, but I just don't. Yes, there's Kool-Aid gum. It's pretty good. But I can see this may be the year that Mike Evans does not get 1,000 yards.
Is there a chance, and I know you don't love this kind of question, is there a chance he gets traded?
I hope not. I like Mike Evans.
I like him too, but I'd like him to keep his 1,000-yard streak going too.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure how he feels about that. I haven't asked him.
I was a little surprised Tampa didn't.
They had no money.
But that's why I'm surprised they didn't try and tear it down. They got their ring.
You can't tear it down. If you tear it down, you pretty much doom Todd Bowles.
I hate that. It's right. I hate that though, because you know you're tearing it down. So why would you take it out on the coach? He's already doomed. You see his quarterbacks.
Because they have in the sports world, when the expectation for your team does not meet, when the expectations are not met of what the fans expect, whether it's unrealistic or not, the coach got to go.
I mean, before Tom got there, or when he signed there, before he played a game there, it was something like Bill Belichick would have to lose every game for 30 straight years, and Tampa would have to win every game for 30 straight years for them to have the same winning percentage.
That's
like,
tragic.
This is how bad of an organization Tampa is. I don't think fans are the same as they were in the 80s and 90s. Like, I don't think fans are stupid. I think if you tell them a plan and you're open about a plan, I think it's when you try and pretend, oh, we're competing. And it's like, you're 0-17. No, you're not. Like, I think if you're transparent with your fan base, but you have to stick to the plan. You can't be swaying around with the plan. That's when you don't have to fire your coach and do all these other things that everyone just does because that's what you do.
That just makes too much sense.
That is a problem, and that is a problem.
Like, everything you're saying, I really agree with. And as a sports guy, I'm going, you can't do that. How dare you speak the truth? Gosh, what are you thinking?
It's got me in trouble before, just being honest. But I don't understand it. Like, doing this half in, half out stuff.
Because the coach is, it's hard to do that because you can't tell the players, hey, we know we're not going to be very good this year, hey, but you guys go out there and do your best.
Well,
That's a hard set. And I don't even know how I would handle that. I was like, wait a minute.
well, if you were in this instance, you would be the Mike Evans here.
I
Where
have
it's like,
been a Mike Evans.
that's what I'm saying. But it's like, I would be like, hey, where do you want to go? Like what the Rams just did with Jalen Ramsey. Where do you want to go?
Yes. But receivers are superheroes. And we think we can fix all the problems if we just make enough plays.
Go fix them somewhere else. You're trying to put a nice roof on this house with no foundation.
That's correct. But sitting from this chair, we're sitting here now, I understand it.
Right.
But in that locker room, you're like, man, not me. I will will my team to victory.
Yeah, jump on my back. I'll win this game by myself.
Absolutely.
Which you can't do if someone's throwing you bounce passes.
Yours, not mine. All right. This is an interesting one. Number 12, DeAndre Hopkins.
Mm-hmm.
One, he's no longer with the Arizona Cardinals. I do not believe DeAndre Hopkins will be in the top, is number 12. Because one, he's no longer on the worst roster in the NFL currently. Mm-hmm. But also two, his role will change. He becomes a second option, which is a role change. And the reason he becomes a second option, he's a little bit older. He's not as fast and was never really sneaky fast, but extremely crafty and still crafty. However, it is June. If he's on a team in June, that means free agency has gone and passed. The draft has gone and passed. Teams have built they drafted based off the current roster. Not having DeAndre Hopkins on a roster was ever a thought in the draft.
Right.
And now he's available as is released as a free agent. Now you have to go through the dating stage. Is this workable? Is his APY, average pay a year, is it right? We don't want to ruffle the feathers of our current team. Look at Gabe Davis, how he played up and down with the talks of OBJ constantly being there. He has Thursday night against New England Patriots. They throw him a pass. They're talking about OBJ will be visiting the Buffalo Bills that Monday, that weekend of their weekend bye of the Thursday night football game. And what does he do in that first pass? Drops it. Knowing that you're good enough, the team is like, hey, you're good enough to start, but we're looking
today.
But we're looking by next week. You may not be playing.
Yeah.
You may be number 3.
So I'm always interested in that. How do you judge it? Because you've seen people step up in that scenario too.
He hasn't stepped up.
Right.
Gabe, I thought last year was going to be the year he steps up and really kind of shows, hey, when Diggs is either not there anymore or I thought Gabe would start to show, hey, I'm the guy.
Yeah.
I am inheriting this starting role when Stefon Diggs decides he no longer wants to be Stefon Diggs.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm the guy. Batman, I'm Robin, but I am waiting in the wing, and I've been trying on the suit, bro.
Right.
And it feels good. A little bit. Got to do some alterations, but we'll be good. You hearing Buffalo Bills are a favorite or Kansas City, but he's not going to be the number one wide receiver on that team.
Not in Buffalo, but in Kansas City, no? I mean, Kelsey's obviously their number one.
Kelsey will be their number one. They got Sky Moore. They got Kadarius Toney. They have you talking about a flex guy? I'll add a flex guy right now. John Ross.
Justin Ross? Justin
No,
Ross.
John Ross is with the Kansas City. They got Justin Ross and John Ross.
Oh, really?
Yes. John Ross, I've heard, has been impressing. Imagine. Here's the guy that I think of when you say, what is he going to do, Steve? Todd Pinkston. Andy Reid, Philadelphia Eagles.
Mm-hmm.
When Andy Reid, the scientist, gets the mad science, when he gets speed on the team, John Ross is that speed guy. John Ross is not the speed guy as the number one wide receiver, but John Ross can contribute to this team and put pressure on the defense. So you got MVS, John Ross, Sky Moore, Kadarius Toney, Rashid Rice.
I mean, I'm never going to give up on Justin Ross. When seeing him at Clemson just absolutely dominate and then have horrible injury after horrible injury. When he signed with them last year, I was horrified. He didn't play at all, forgot about him, saw him catch a touchdown from Mahomes yesterday, became horrified again.
Okay. So, DeAndre Hopkins, his role will change, which means he drops out of the top 15, in my opinion, in my professional opinion.
But fantasy-wise, if he goes to one of these places, he could, even if he's just a touchdown guy, like his yards, his catches go down, could his touchdowns rise? Especially playing in Buffalo.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
Because you know they're not going to run the football.
No, they have no idea how to do that.
Nope.
And when you're talking about the Rams won and lost all their coaches, there are teams who don't win, like the Bills, and lose all their coaches, whether it's Leslie Frazier taking a year off.
But they also they didn't lose players. The Rams lost players.
The Rams lost both, yeah, for sure.
Yes.
But you do see plenty of teams that have success, their coaching tree starts getting picked apart, and then it falls out. That's why you don't always have next year, is the point I'm getting to. Like, it's not always, the quarterback's 25, we've got all this time.
Yeah.
Now you're on your third OC because the other ones keep getting hired because he keeps playing well. Maybe this guy's not the one. So it's always risky when guys are sliding in and out.
Gotcha. Yep. Garrett Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
I say Garrett Wilson moves up, obviously, because you got the dime dropper over Aaron Rodgers. Also, I believe he gets a little bit more. Aaron loves a guy that can stretch the field. Alan Lazard, I like him. I think, but he does not scare defensive coordinators.
No.
Randall Cobb does not scare defensive coordinators. No. So Garrett Wilson will contribute. He will have a complete year. So I would move him up, moving him up with DeAndre Hopkins, just because currently right now, as we're recording, we don't know where DeAndre Hopkins is going.
He's unemployed, technically.
Yes.
Very technically.
Yeah.
So right now, Garrett Wilson and Amon-Ra St. Brown are being drafted in the same spot.
I would take Garrett Wilson because I'm never, ever going to weigh Jared Goff over Aaron Rodgers. I do not believe that Jared Goff will have a more prestige passing attack than Aaron Rodgers.
Did he not last year?
Yeah. Touche.
I think I saw he has the third.
Yeah.
It's either completion percentage or just total yards since like 2018 behind just Mahomes and Josh Allen. Like
that's surprising.
He's going. I think what's going to happen in 5 years, we're going to be having the Matthew Stafford conversation we had before he got to LA about Jared Goff. Like, is this guy going to be a Hall of Famer? Just looking at his numbers, and not people like that look you just had are going to be like, what are you talking about? No. But that's what I used to do about Matthew Stafford.
No. But Matthew Stafford was dropping dimes. Jared Goff has not always dropped dimes.
Matthew Stafford has also not always dropped dimes.
Did you watch him in college?
College?
Yeah.
We're
And then-
talking college.
Yes, but then he was dropping dimes to Megatron.
They both went, yeah, to Megatron, exactly.
Yes.
To one of the best receivers of all time.
That's correct. Just because you have one of the best receivers of all time doesn't mean that you're going to be good.
It makes it a little easier.
It does. But I've also seen some quarterbacks who have really good receivers not be very good at still at quarterback.
Definitely. I'm
With
not
a
saying
good receiver.
I'm not saying Matthew Stafford was ever garbage.
Okay.
But I was also talking about Hall of Fame. Before he won that ring, I still don't know.
Who?
Matthew Stafford. I
I
still don't
thought
know.
you was talking about Jerry.
No,
I was
no.
about to whack your arm off. Like, yeah.
But I mean, people talk about with Matt Ryan too, for example, because he has these counting numbers that are so outrageous to
Yeah,
look
I
at
got
the end of a career.
I got you.
So I think in a couple of years, if Goff keeps stacking numbers like this, people are going to go, wait a minute.
Yeah, no.
And I also agree, it probably shouldn't. But
No, he won't.
if it's just a numbers game, he might.
No.
If he wins the Super Bowl with the Lions, he's walking in.
Walking in butt naked. He walking in that thing.
He's getting the full bus.
He's like, say what you want. Here's how I'm showing up. Right? DK Metcalf. I keep him where he is. 14.
DK, awesome player. Doesn't really ever get 100-yard games, which I find very shocking.
He's had some.
I think he's had 2 over the last 2 seasons,
Yeah.
which is like shockingly, like he's great for 80, 90 yards. Because you see guys, their average yards per game is always around like 84 to 89. And that's because one week they put up 120, the next week they put up 60. He just puts up 80. Like he's just, whatever his average is, that's what he hits. And I don't know that I can remember a player like that.
At the end of the day, he's a middle of the road route runner. That's why. He has huge athleticism.
But that would make me think he would have more extremes.
No.
You know what I mean? Like lower lows.
Because when I say a middle of the road, he has he's only can run certain routes. Bottom line. And there's nothing wrong with that.
For sure, yeah.
A lot of people don't want to hear it. He is really good at doing what he does. Bottom line. I don't really know what else, because I don't want to come across like I'm hating.
No, of course
I'm
not.
just saying, in his route tree, he hits certain routes. He's uncoverable. And there's other routes he cannot run. That's just his body type. You know, there are certain routes I cannot run. I couldn't run a sluggo to save my life. That's a slant and go. I would shorten up my routes, shorten up my steps. I would sneak up on them. I would do things I was like, bro, I just could not run those routes. Bottom line. There were other routes, couldn't touch me with a 9 million foot pole. Everybody has their strengths and weaknesses. That's why.
Yeah.
We talked about Brown with the Detroit Lions. I keep him where he is. Number 16, DJ Moore with Chicago Bears. I see DJ as 1,000 yards. I think he'll be fine. I don't really see anything negative, positive. I see DJ as he's steady Eddie. The question is really going to be, how is his yak? What is he doing with the ball in his hands? Is DJ can run. I just don't see it enough on a consistent basis, and he does not implement that in his game enough to allow more open space for himself. It doesn't help he's been on a team where it's been the quarterback play has struggled. That's not his fault.
Right.
You know, he's a product of his environment and overcoming, showing that he's a hell of a football player, and his mentals are extremely high.
I'm just thinking about it now. If he doesn't take his helmet off in the end zone when he catches that touchdown, and the Panthers just have a regular extra point, you guys are picking 14th instead of 9th, and probably can't even trade up to number 1.
Yeah,
like that's how small
he still gets traded.
Sure, yeah, but it's like you to Chicago. I don't know.
He still gets traded. He still gets traded.
But are you guys trading for 1?
he gets traded because he has a $20 million cap.
Yeah,
right?
no, I get that
$20
part of
million.
it. I'm talking about for the Panthers, though.
I'm talking about $20 million for below 500 yards of yak.
Mhm.
This business is not just about catching. This business is also about being destructive when you get the ball in your hand.
Right.
In college, that's what you saw from him. In the NFL, it has not been consistent.
Mhm.
Still gets traded, in my
Sure,
opinion.
sure. I was more talking about like, is Bryce Young here? You know what I mean? Are they too far away to make that jump?
I think they make that jump either way because of David
Urgency,
Tepper.
yeah.
And understand, David Tepper came up, we can keep this in here. David Tepper came up with the idea it was cheaper to make this trade economically than it was in any other trade that they had on the table.
Mhm.
After the combine, Tepper said, hey, I did the formula. This is what we need to do. Here's why. In the long run, we'll win and it'll be cheaper than it would be if we trade Burns and do all this other stuff that other scenarios are out there.
Right. Yeah, not trading Burns. That was some other people debated a lot. I thought that was the right move. Still think it's the right move.
Because he's a game wrecker.
Mm-hmm.
And
so crazy young.
Yes. And is there a guy better in the draft next year that you can guarantee will give you the production and the presence on the field the way Burns is?
Right. And he's about to get paid, and DNs get paid second to quarterbacks. So if you're going to have the rookie quarterback, yeah, you still need that game wrecking edge off the other side.
Well, look at Seattle. Mm-hmm. Without having a pass rush, how did that excellent secondary struggle at times?
Right. Right.
Significant.
Right. They didn't have their best edge, Jamal Adams.
Yes. All right. Number 17, Jalen Waddle, and 18, DeVonta Smith. I believe both of these guys are moving up. I think they leapfrog some guys. They're moving up. Obviously, no guys are going to move up and down. It's a moving scale. But I also believe that these guys will move up because they're advancing. Jalen Waddle, I believe he's in a prime. He's that fruit that's just like he's been ripening and ripening. I think he is going to explode this year. And he's shown that his first couple of years, he was playing the inside, wasn't great coaching. He was catching all these small passes, going for home runs, short passes. The ability to apply pressure, his great route running, he's going to blow up, man.
So right now he's going about 17th. Chris Olave
move up.
Chris Olave is going 21st.
I like that. I think that's smart.
And then DeVonta Smith's going 23rd.
I'd say both of these guys. I would put Jalen Waddle ahead of put him in that category with CeeDee Lamb.
Okay.
Drop CeeDee Lamb to 17. Keep Chris Olave in the 20. Move DeVonta up in the 15. I would put DeVonta substituting Brown putting DeVonta
Brown
Smith.
Or Brown? St. Brown. Right?
St. Brown,
yeah.
sorry.
No. I just want to make sure.
St. Brown.
Okay. And then you got T. Higgins going 24th. Where does he fall within all this?
It's funny. I'm not sure. Because the Bengals still have Charlie Jones, who's I believe is going to slowly show that he can play, that will make Tyler Boyd expendable after this season, the same way that Marvin Jones became expendable in Jacksonville. I'm not sure with T. Higgins and I believe, I can't think of his name right now, the running back that the Bengals picked up with Joe Mixon, his contract situation,
right,
and running a football the way the Bengals refused to use Joe Mixon and played Samar Pirine, I believe that is going to impact how they move forward with Joe Mixon, which also means the discount that T. Higgins is saying that they all think is going to happen, that Joe Burrow's going to get. You can't have all of these players putting these numbers up and they all playing at a discount.
Right.
It sounds great in theory.
Right.
But when you get that piece of paper slid in front of you and you get to see what the possibility you can make with this team and what the other team value you at, you got to at least look at it. You got to entertain the thought.
Right.
Hold the piece of paper, hold the offer in your hand and close your eyes and daydream of what you can do with an extra couple.
Probably even more than an extra couple.
So I see T Higgins at 19. I have him moving up. Quarterback situation with Brandon Ayuk at 20. I got him either staying or moving down. I got Chris Godwin. He's dropping. I don't even know how much, but he's dropping.
Right.
Because of quarterback play. I say he's dropping, but I believe he's going to be better because his knee is fully healed.
Right.
He's 100%. He's got a full 18 months of, he's no longer working his way back into football. He is and will be in football shape, and knee will be in football shape.
Talk about an off season where you are rehabbing versus just a regular off season, like the mental difference in that.
Well, the mental difference is you're trying things out when you're rehabbing. You're trying to see, well, which routes can't I run? Well, when I run this way, this is grabbing. When I do this, that is grabbing. When you don't have any injuries, now you're just repairing and building up muscle. You're not trying to get back to a level. You're exceeding that level. You're going. You're putting on weight. You know your direction. You already have a plan. And you're like, okay, we're gonna do this on Mondays. We're gonna do this on Wednesdays. I did Monday, Wednesday, Friday. When you're rehabbing, your Wednesday may alter or your Friday may alter because you have to rest and give some recovery time to that injury. That does a number on you.
And is there ever a thought like, what if I never get back?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's a huge thought.
So it's just very taxing
Oh,
emotionally, physically.
Sucks, bro.
Yeah.
Just flat out part of the business that you never want to see a guy go through. So when you see a guy that's hurt, you got to understand and have a little grace. Yes, he's hurting your football. He's hurting your fantasy team. But he's emotionally trying to figure out, will I come back the way I used to be?
Right.
He's praying, I hope so.
Right.
It's tough. Number 22, Amari Cooper. I think Amari Cooper moves up. I think he has more explosive plays. He also has a full year with Deshaun Watson. They all getting together. Elijah Moore is in there. I believe Elijah Moore could be a flex guy. I also like the Cleveland Browns, their whole receiving core, because you have Cedric Tillman from Tennessee. He can play. He's a technician. You have Elijah Moore. He's a speed guy. Then you have Cooper, and you have all the other guys with Cleveland. And then the offense is now all together. They're working out. I believe that he will just get better and have the impact, and other players around him will get better. The same way we talked about earlier in the year with CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb was able to play a lot different and better and get more explosive plays because of the presence of Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper is not a big, boisterous guy. He's a blue collar, a hard hat. He just goes to work. You don't even know sometimes he's there.
It's true.
He's a silent assassin. So he can play. So I would put him up there. 23rd, I keep Tyler Lockett. I keep him even Steven right there at 23rd. Now this is 24 and 25. I can be interchangeable where they can Deontay Johnson with Pittsburgh. I got him dropping because of the inconsistency, the emergence of George Pickens.
Yep.
Kenny Pickett. They got to run the ball with Najee Harris.
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately, Matt Canada is still offense coordinator. A lot of question marks, a lot of ifs. And at the end of the day, production will always impact you that way.
Mm-hmm.
Keenan Allen with Quentin Johnson. I can't remember the receiver they got at TCU. I think it's Davis. He's a speedster.
Yeah, DeAndre.
Yeah, I just think that you're gonna see dropper production. He's 31 years old. Last year, he only limited to 10 games, 800 yards. I would not imagine that he's not gonna not have something. This is a league where you're gonna have something.
Mm.
And he's going to have something because when you get older, you always have something. I hate to say it, but you're going to have something.
What is that age? That's older.
It all depends on the person.
Yeah.
It really does. Some people age better than others.
Right.
Some people, man, they've been rolled long and hard. And the bottom falls out.
Right.
Right. There's never ever. Now, for the fan, you may say, "Oh, I can see him slowing down." When it leaves you, it leaves you.
Yeah.
It doesn't forewarn you. It may forewarn the people that are watching, but we're superheroes, so we already know. And I could go through it, and then all of a sudden you realize, no, that thing. Hey, who is it? Athleticism. What you doing? Leaving, and that's how it goes.
Was there a specific play you remember yourself where you were just like, I used to be able to break off this route and the defender was nowhere near me, or I used to hit this gear and now I just can't find it?
My last 2 years in Baltimore, I started to realize that the go routes, I had probably in a game I'll probably have 10. I can give you 10 good go routes where I can go, right? My last 2 years, I said, I got about before I did my Achilles, I had probably about 4 out of 7. I can give you 4 great ones.
Mm.
And then it was like 3 out of 5. I can give you 3 great ones. But don't hit me over 5 now in my intermediate route game.
Yeah.
But I knew that, and I didn't have a problem with it.
Sure, yeah.
And the offense was already created around me and understood that. And I understood it. So I wasn't out there going, give me a go route. I'm over there like, hey, Steve, you want to go? No.
I heard he hit 2.
You know what? Rashad? Rashad
from
Florida.
Baltimore?
Yeah, Baltimore.
Perryman?
Yes, Rashad. You got it, dog. You can get this. Go get this go route. Yeah.
You got those young legs. Use them.
Hey, go ahead. You get this. Let me run. I run this in. I can run this deep in for about 15. Ha! Oh, slow this like that. Oh, okay, spin. So that's what I knew. 26. Brandon Cooks, Dallas Cowboys. He's the number 2 wide receiver. I think he drops down. This will probably be the first year that he doesn't have 1,000 yards. I see him dropping.
Did he put up 1,000 last year? Even with the missed games and.
No, he didn't last year.
Yeah.
But so this will be the second
Giving
year.
him a pass for last year.
Yeah. 27. This was an interesting one because it's I got one eye open as rising, one eye open as I can see him staying stagnant or dropping. Michael Thomas from the New. If he's healthy, yes. If he's not healthy, I'm not sure.
It's a toe, right?
I don't know,
Right.
bro.
Yeah. Well, because I feel like turf toe injuries,
They hurt.
but it's something like the average fan just cannot wrap their.
Oh, it's.
Like I remember,
I am not going to take my shoes off to show you what it looks like, but it's basically the knuckle on your toe starts to protrude.
Right.
And so you have to, it gets so bad, you have to,
Like shave it down.
you can shave it down, but they don't recommend it, or you cut open on the side of your shoe because it's
And then just tape over it.
you have to tape it. You gonna make me take my shoe.
I believe
So you have
it.
to tape it. So it's like that to take the pressure off of it. Bro, And then when you're not playing, you have to wear flip-flops or arch supports in your shoe to kind of relieve the pressure. It's a beast.
It needs a new name, that injury, because people hear turf toe, they think it's like a burn or something like that. Like,
well, it burns when you run routes.
I'm sure it does.
Like when you're running and break down, there's a burning sensation in your foot that does not feel good, and you're supposed to muscle through it.
But like plantar fasciitis is like arch injury, you know.
And I actually had plantar fasciitis where I would have to sleep with these things because I have flat feet. My shoe size I think is like 11 and a half. You want to know how wide my feet are? Double E. So my feet are wide. So I got working man's feet.
Definitely.
I mean,
but when the average fan hears plantar fasciitis, they go, I don't know what that means. I'm sure it's bad. When they hear turf toe, they go, suck it up, go play. Yeah. And it's not that easy.
Here's what turf toe is equivalent to playing football and feeling like you hit your big toe on the coffee table all the time.
Right, yeah.
So play through that.
Right, exactly. Just call it a broken toe. Like, just say anything but turf. Yeah. For whatever reason, that word turf softens it in people's minds where they can't wrap their head around like, oh no, this is actually a severe injury.
Yeah, it's tough. So 28, I think he moves up probably 5 or 6 spots, maybe might be 10. I put him in the top 15, top 20. At 28, Calvin Ridley. Okay. First of all, he's ripped up. He's refocused. Doug Peterson, that staff, they just need a guy who can apply speed and pressure to that defense. So that also makes me move up at 31, Christian Kirk, because he's going to be the intermediate. They're going to have this high-low combination that is going to be so dangerous. It's going to be outstanding. Calvin Ridley will pick up where he left off, which means he is going to cause trouble for a lot of defenses all the time, every day. I'm excited about this dude.
And I like Ridley because it's still an AFC South schedule where you're playing a lot of your division.
Lemon squeezy.
Yeah, so both him and Kirk, I'm high on.
They're going to work, bro. Yeah, they're going to work. Pitch and catch.
And it's what, Trevor Lawrence's 3rd year,
and he's better coaching.
Right, 2nd year in the system.
2nd year on the system, taking ownership.
Didn't lose the tight end whose name I'm blanking on at this very moment.
Evan Ingram.
Yeah, Ingram. They didn't lose him. They've got him for at least 1 more year. So yeah, you would assume the Jacksonville should walk away with that division, and a lot of it should be that offense.
That offense, definitely. If the side note, ETN, Travis Etienne, I wouldn't use a lot of equity on him.
They're already talking about Tank taking carries in that backfield.
Yes. Just telling
you.
Yeah. He just watching him, doesn't hit the hole. He's too upright, takes a lot of punishment. Hell of a football player in college. I think has not translated to the football player that they have hoped. Can he be an NFL player? Yes. I don't believe that he will be the NFL player that we saw him in college.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to transition. That's not a slight to him. It's just at the end of the day, he's not a top 10 running back in the National Football League.
No.
So
no.
But I believe he was a top 10 running back in college.
For sure.
And, at Clemson.
Stayed 1 year too long.
Yes. Mike Williams moves up, barring injuries, at 29. Number 30, Michael Pittman Jr. Michael Pittman Jr. is not going to fool you with speed. However, contested catches is right there. Anthony Richardson, I believe he's going to get better. Their coaching staff is obviously is better this year. They had a lot of indecisiveness, so I really like this. And then I think Michael Pittman will have, at 30, moving up a few notches just because I think he'll have more explosive plays. because of the off schedule and when a play breaks down, they're going to have the scramble rule. And what is Anthony Richardson notoriously known for? His arm strength.
Mm-hmm.
I can see off schedule, scrambling around, throws a 50-yard bomb. Michael Pittman mosses a guy.
Yeah.
So I think that's why he moves up.
Yeah, the Colts are going to be fun to watch this year. Even if it doesn't translate to wins immediately, they're very interesting to me.
Yep. I don't know if I mentioned Josh Dobbs.
Downs.
Oh,
Downs.
Dobbs.
Yeah.
Quarterback. Yeah. Josh Downs.
You said Jahan Dotson earlier as Josh Dobbs too. So you've
Yeah.
got Josh Dobbs on the mind.
Yes. Josh Downs. Flex.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to be a guy like Tank. He's going to make some plays. He's going to get you some first downs. He's going to get when the ball gets in his hands. Also, Zay Flowers too.
Right.
Because of that, Rashad Bateman with OBJ, with Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers is going to be a starter. OBJ is not coming off the bench. He's going to be a starter.
Right.
As long as his knee is 100%, which it looked. And then you got Mark Andrews, number 89, because you never go wrong with 89. Bateman is going to be the guy who, at the end of the day, he's going to suffer for that. With him suffering for that, that's just how it goes.
Mm-hmm.
Will he raise his game? That will require him going across the middle. I've addressed that. I talked about it. But at the end of the day, there were some things that he left. He left food on the table. And because of that, Zay Flowers will not leave food on the table.
So right now, Zay Flowers is still getting drafted behind Quentin Johnson.
I would move up and give Zay Flowers over Quentin Johnson because of Zay Flowers and Lamar Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
Double speed. You look at this coach, the offensive coordinator from Monken. Razzle dazzle. Zay Flowers, dynamic with the ball in his hands. How's Lamar Jackson with the ball in his hands?
Pretty good.
You're gonna get Zay Flowers is gonna touch the ball behind the line of scrimmage at least 3 or 4 times. He's young. You gotta get him going early.
Yeah.
OBJ is gonna run his routes. So Zay Flowers comes in there. I'm telling you. I have him over there because Quentin Johnson will be the number 3 wide receiver.
Right.
I saw somebody say that Josh Palmer, he's done, he's worked his tail off. He has worked his tail off. But when they use a 21st,
high 20s. Yeah,
high 20 draft pick, Mike Williams is number 1 or number 2. Keenan Allen is number 2. The 20th draft pick, who's 6'4", 200-something pounds, he's number 3.
And honestly, even if he's not 3, Eckler's 3. So either way,
yes,
he's going to be fighting with 3 other guys for targets. Whereas
yes.
Zay Flowers could lead that team in targets. Like very legitimately could lead the Ravens in targets.
You're going to get a lot jet sweeps. You're going to get the ball, smoke routes, screen routes. You're going to get the ball in his hands quickly. Number 32, I already said Christian Kirk, he's moving up. Number 32, I think Chris Olave moves up. I think he moves up, obviously, because now you have Derek Carr.
Yeah.
He's a better quarterback. And also, Mike Thomas is back, so he's going to command the number 1 corner. So Chris Olave will be going against the number 2 corner. Very rarely our teams have second and third Pro Bowl corners on the team. The second corner is a step below the first corner. That's just facts.
And even if Olave is getting those CB1s, that's all he had last year, and he was fine. He put up 1,000 yards. He had an excellent rookie year. And for whatever people think about Derek Carr, the real-world quarterback, his receivers do well in fantasy.
Yes. Yes, they do. Who else you got? What else?
I mean, Jerry Jeudy and Keenan Allen are getting drafted in the same spot. Would you lean Keenan Allen over Jeudy?
I would lean Keenan Allen over Jeudy. I moved DJ Moore above Jerry Jeudy is 43.
Yeah.
Real talk, I removed Jerry Jeudy from the list altogether,
Mm-hmm.
and I plug in Tim Patrick in there.
That high?
Yes.
Okay.
I put Tim Patrick. Tim Patrick is a speed guy. Cortland Sutton is not the speed guy. He never was. And then with the knee, he's not there, and he's a little bit older.
Yep.
Tim Patrick with the knee, I've seen some tape on him. He's running. He's got his legs back under. He's running full speed. He's trying to show it almost a little bit. I told him, hey, slow down a little bit. Jerry Jeudy is a guy in college, fantastic college player. He is not the number one wide receiver. He is right now a tier 3 receiver. That means he's a guy where you need to pay attention to him. However, when he's not on the field, you're not going, where's Jerry Jeudy? That's just where he is in his career right now. He may just be a guy who's a first-round draft pick who has a decent career, but expecting him to turn out to be a Hall of Famer, I'm not sure that's it. I don't even expect him to make the Pro Bowl.
Right.
Just because he's just not there. It hasn't translated into that player.
So if the rest of the board's not going to be taking Tim Patrick until pick, 130.
That's a mistake.
Sure, but I'm also not just going to burn an early pick on him if I know I can wait a few rounds
Correct.
and get him.
But don't burn that pick on Jerry Jeudy.
Sure, yeah, that's different. Yeah.
I would go with DJ Moore. I tell you another pick right here below that, 46.7.
Drake London.
Drake London. Not because Drake London, I believe Drake London can play. I just don't believe as a first-round draft pick he's having an impact. Having 40 catches against big-time corners, I can't find him.
Right.
Against nobodies, he can play. However, what's more interesting, read the reports. Their QB1, Ritter, inaccurate.
Right.
Overthrow, underthrow. That's more of my concern, less of London, more of the quarterback play. Quarterback play is not great. I experienced and watched Ritter's pro day at Cincinnati coming out. I was actually standing next to the Atlanta Falcons and talking about his throws, and we both kind of looked at each other a little bit like, did you see that? I was on the room. And they picked him.
Yeah.
I'm confused. He is not ready to be the quarterback one.
Yeah.
I believe he will not finish the season, or at some point they will pull him and give another guy an opportunity to sit him down just to get him refocused, to help save his mental. I just don't see Ritter being a guy.
Yeah, and I mean, there's no team that's going to run as much as Atlanta too. So even if Ritter has found his accuracy, he's going to be throwing 15, 20 times a game.
Hopefully.
And Bijan's going to be running. And even still, when they throw, they're going to be throwing it to Bijan.
Yes.
So
because Bijan is moving, they're moving him around. London stationary stand.
Right.
And also here, Clark Phillips out there locking them down a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
A little spicy. Getting a little spicy. But I would put in there, that's a Bug Collins. Bug Hollins pick. Put him in flex. He's a guy's going to show up. He's going to get you a first down. He's going to impact the game. He's not going to get you 8 or 10 targets, but he'll give you 3 or 4 where he'll have 3 or 4 catches about 75 yards.
Right.
Because I do believe in Arthur Smith, his ability to understand and how to get the ball to some of the guys to get the chains moving and stay on schedule.
When to take a shot.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I'm trying to see. I mean, George Pickens versus Deontay Johnson, they're going back to back pretty much, teammates.
Yeah.
I guess it really depends. Do you think Pickens just takes that second-year leap? Which
I
do. Again, Matt Canada, the rest of the problems with that offense.
That's,
but if you just want one of these Steelers receivers,
you can't go wrong with either one.
Yeah.
Right? Pickens is there. He's there slightly below, but then you can also Deontay Johnson at times, man, he drops the easy pass and catches the hard pass, so he's inconsistent as well. So I'm not sure.
Yeah, he had a very strange season last year, and obviously I think he played 3 different quarterbacks last year until Pickett settled in. So yeah, very weird year for a guy who I feel like didn't have those issues 2 years. Like we weren't talking about that 2 years ago with him.
No. Guy also Jonathan Mingo.
Yep. Mingo versus Rushy Rice, 127, 130. And these aren't people really taking educated guesses. They are taking educated guesses. They're saying Rice is coming to Kansas City. Maybe he emerges there, but as you've talked about, Sky Moore is there. MVS is there. Kelsey's going to get the lion's share of the targets. So that's a lottery ticket where Mingo's getting a little bit of an edge over him. Not a huge one. It's only 3 picks. Just because people aren't super high on Carolina's receiving room as a whole.
And I think you're sleeping on him. I think I believe you got to throw Terrence Marshall Jr. in there. He's going to surprise some people. I think Mingo will surprise some people too. I can see him moving up in the 90s. I think he probably he can move up in the 90s. I think he's going to contribute a lot. I think he will contribute a lot. I'm not going to say I think he could contribute more than Rice, because we also don't know what the teams foresee with these guys, but they're learning. And I can see some of these guys they're not going to get you 1,700 yards.
Sure, yeah.
But eventually, these players on their respectable teams will eventually be maybe improve and become a number one. But I would get Mingo over Bateman right now.
Interesting.
I would get Rice over Bateman right now because Bateman is behind OBJ. Bateman is behind Zay Flowers. When I look at Rashad Bateman's body of work in college and in the pros, and I look at OBJ and Zay Flowers, who do you go with?
Yeah. I mean, he's just been super injury prone when he's gotten his chances.
And he's been injured, not his fault.
For sure.
And because of that, when I turn on the tape, those guys pop more. The circumstance, the reason why, I'm not in that business.
Right.
I have empathy for him. But at the end of the day, I still got to say, because of my empathy, I'm not going to say, man, I think he'll get it together. I got to say, hopefully he gets it together. But if he doesn't, they said Zay Flowers will. So that's why I move him up.
Yeah, when I think of Bateman, there was one play last year. For some reason, I think it was against the Dolphins. I don't even know if that's true. Where he catches one behind the line of scrimmage and just goes and beats everyone down the field for like a 60, 70-yard touchdown. Speed I didn't know he had.
Oh, he has.
So it's the variance. It's the inconsistency. There's some plays he looks like the best player on the field. There's others where it's like, did he even play today?
Correct.
And taking him, where's he going right now? 92? Yeah, that's a little high.
I think he goes down, and I would put Mingo above him just because of circumstances.
Yeah, and I mean these are just where they're being drafted today.
Yeah.
So there will be thousands more drafts, tens of thousands more drafts between as we're speaking right now and Labor Day.
So when they do that, where do they go?
What do you mean?
Where do you go to get the best draft or get the best opportunity with this knowledge that we're giving them to benefit from it the most?
Oh, well, I'm glad you asked, because you go to Underdog Fantasy.
Okay.
And you enter Best Ball Mania 4, use promo code CTI. And yeah, you get your draft on, and people sitting there all day. You can do a slow draft, which means you can pick at your leisure, or you can do a regular draft. Yeah, slow drafts. I've entered a couple of them, and I always miss them because I don't like notifications on my phone. But a slow draft, yeah, you might pick once an hour. It just kind of happens over the course of days.
Man, I can't do
Fast drafts are every like 30 seconds. And
oh wow, that's too. That'll make me.
It's quite different. Yeah,
it's like 30 seconds.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you think 10 minutes in the NFL, you think you're scrambling there.
Yeah.
30 seconds, and if the guy you were about to pick gets taken right before you, and now you're like, I don't like any of these guys. Everyone else on the board stinks, and then you end up not even taking a player. The computer picks it for you, and then you're like, why did I do that? Yeah. But after these preseason games, after people get cut, Mingo's moving up. And I guess we should end with that. How much stock should people put into preseason performances? Or rather, what should they be looking for in the preseason that matters versus what doesn't really matter?
So there's a heads and a tail. The true, to know what the coin really is. It has to have two distinguished sides, a heads and a tails. It's not really what it's made of, it's a heads and a tails. the heads part in preseason, you're going to get a lot of coaches wanting to artificially make a guy look good because, one, you want to build up his confidence. Also, two, you want to see how does he handle? What is his fundamentals? How does he look? How does he process? Which ball does he carry it in? And because you can't get it in these days now, you can't get it necessarily all in the practices. But you can now with these dual practices. So it's a gift and a curse. So you're going to get, I expect Mingo is going to get a lot of passes. Terrence Marshall is going to get, Zay Flowers are going to get a lot of passes. They want to see, and it just may be, you know, if they're doing the first 15, you may see them do 25 plays and hey, this ball is supposed to go to this guy. It may not go to him because he may not win on a route. He may get jammed up. The left tackle may get beat. Who knows? But then the other side of it is he also may be going against a lesser opponent. And because he's going against a lesser opponent, his numbers may be inflated because he's playing guys who will be on practice squad in a couple of weeks.
Right.
So sometimes it's really hard to say. So what I'm looking at is when he does win, what is the status of that corner? Was that a first, second, third, fourth, fifth corner? Is that a guy that's going to be on the streets in the next couple of weeks? Was it the starting quarterback or was it the backup quarterback? What quarter was it in?
Right.
All of those things, that's what I'm looking for to kind of tell me if this young kid is playing well.
And this is more work, obviously, our practice reps more indicative of where a guy actually is in the depth chart?
Yes.
Than actually what's going on in the preseason game?
Yes.
Okay.
A guy could be on the depth chart. Some of these young guys now are getting treated like vets because it's such a short time. And backups in the NFL are the foundation of your team. You have to have strong backups.
For sure.
Because a strong backup has to be a guy who, one, understands how to play football without getting the reps. And so he has to play multiple positions, and you have to know, can he do it without practicing?
Yeah.
So a lot of times he may not get the reps in practice, but he's getting the reps in the game. Mm-hmm. And so when you see a preseason game, you see a guy who hasn't played much, hence why against your New England Patriots, my Carolina Panthers, they had Matt Corral playing. In that game, they wanted to see him play against the 2s and the 3s.
Yeah.
And the 2s and the 3 offensive linemen, what happened?
Yeah.
Couldn't block.
Right.
Got his foot stepped on, Liz Frank, into his end of his season.
Yeah. And maybe his career, depending on how this goes. You know what I mean? Like that could have been his. That's how fragile it is. That could have been his one shot. Now Bryce Young
it was his one shot with the Carolina Panthers.
For sure, yeah.
Barring any unforeseen circumstances,
For sure.
He may be going somewhere. He could be a problem. He may play well and be an advocate for some of these other teams who all of a sudden their quarterback situation is what it is. And then all of a sudden he gets that opportunity.
Right.
Because watching Mingo, he had a really good rapport and played well with Matt Corral.
Right.
Matt Corral also wasn't great at times.
For sure, yeah.
But he's also had a lot of mental reps. I've had the opportunity to watch Corral a little bit. He can spin the ball a little bit. Mm-hmm. Right now, will he get a legitimate opportunity to fight for it? No, he's going against Andy Dalton and Bryce Young. Even if he outperforms it, which he will not and can never get the opportunity because it's going to be Bryce Young. Get him up to speed as fast as you can. And then have
Dalton comfortable.
Have Dalton comfortable. But at the end of the day, Matt Corral he will not get a legitimate shot to be the starting quarterback for the Carolina Panthers because you don't use all of that equity to move up.
For sure.
to allow a guy who had a foot injury last year beat you out.
Right.
That's why in San Francisco, they have that dynamic. It's a competition because of the equity that they use. And in the National Football League, one of the biggest things you will start to see, this is a trend that started in this era now than years before. Years before, first 4 rounds, and we're not cutting you.
Right. Right.
I'm sorry. First 4 rounds, we will possibly cut you if we didn't. Now, they may put them on IR, give them another year.
Yeah.
Today's football, they not cutting you. They will make sure that you are a limit, that you don't start, you flood the engine. You make sure that you've exalted all of your resources before you let him go, because no owner wants to look back and we say, who is the team that traded Brett Favre to the Green Bay Packers? Who's the team that cut Kurt Warner, who's bagging groceries, to become a Hall of Famer? Nobody wants to be that team.
Right.
No
right.
owner wants that to be. They were the team that let him go. Jerry Glanville traded away Brett Favre. Yes, it was the best thing for Brett Favre. How has Jerry Glanville been seen and coached after that trade?
Right.
The Atlanta Falcons did well after him, right? Nobody wants to be that. So teams are going to make sure that they know for a fact, without a shadow of a doubt, he can't play.
Right.
So that's what they're doing.
Yeah. So Trey Lance not getting traded anytime soon.
Probably not this year.
Right.
But if Brock Purdy comes out and plays like he just did, Trey Lance is
For sure. For sure. Yeah.
And hey, Trey Lance, it's nothing wrong with Trey Lance. He just, when you make all those moves, you got to play like Eli Manning, Peyton Manning. You got to play like Aaron Rodgers. I don't know if that's in him right now.
Sure, yeah. Well, I mean, he's taken like 500 total snaps in his life going back to high school. Like, there's.
And to be the 3rd overall pick, at least with Sam Darnold being the 3rd overall pick, you have tape
Right.
of him that you can say, man, he moves around. All you really have with Trey Lance is what you think he can be.
Yeah. Yeah. It's wild. The 2nd and 3rd picks in that draft have been so bad, and both of those teams may play in the Super Bowl this year.
And those guys will be on the bench.
Correct. Yeah, they'll have nothing to do with it.
Think about
for the
that.
most part.
Think about that.
Yeah.
And it's not like he will be 10 years in the league and sitting on the bench. He's still in his rookie contract sitting on the bench.
Yeah, year 3.
Making good money.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want you to play. Well, hey man, it's a great show. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I'm learning this fantasy football thing.
Oh yeah. You're gonna be a killer at it.
Wow, thank you. All right, I'm Steve Smith Sr.
Coley Mick.
Let's cut to it.
Cut to it, let's get down to it.